Hey, it's Jean Nolan here. Listen, with everything that's going on in the world today, it's the perfect time to become self-sufficient, grow your own food if you can, and prepare with emergency food. You won't regret having this when you need it. And right now you can save $250 on a 3-month food kit from My Patriot Supply. It's their lowest price in 3 years. Go to preparewithinspired.com and get your $250 saving on this 3-month emergency food kit. That's preparewithinspired.com. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's Jean Nolan here. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for subscribing, and for hitting the notifications button so you'll get notified about new videos every single day. All right, let's dive into today's topic. Kristin and I have the pleasure and the honor to speak to a lot of people, be part of different groups, and get in touch with many inspiring and consciousness expanding ideas. And one of the things that we've recently discussed more and more is how we can, of course, bring about a better future. That's what we talk about all the time, but specifically something that a lot of people shy away from. And I'll lead with a question. Who are you asking for permission for anything in your life? Is perhaps the most important question to ask right off the bat. Whom are you asking for permission to change anything, to create something? And are you still saying, please, please, can you allow me to do this? Who would that be? Do you think that is your governor? Do you think it's your president, your congressman? Do you think it's your lawmaker? Do you think it's your sheriff or your police chief or your mayor? Do you think you need to ask, as an adult, mature being on this earth, another for permission to express yourself to the fullest of your capabilities? So what do I mean by that? We're currently in this dilemma, in this war, in this fight, where the gap between two distinct streams of thoughts, one very artificial, one very technologically based, technocracy based, and one organic, authentic, spiritual based, is so dominant. And both paths are fighting for the same space, but do we really have to? People say, well, we have to change the system. We have to fight for that system. There's an old saying that says, if you can't fight them, join them. I would say, if you can't fight them, make them obsolete. And how do we make them obsolete? We should talk about something that's highly important, creating parallel structures, creating our most basic or fulfilling our most basic needs ourselves. We've been talking about this, but on a larger scale. We are constantly in communication with Jim Gale of Food Forest Abundance. His idea isn't simply, or their vision isn't simply, our shared vision isn't simply to put more food into the existing systems. It is to make the existing system obsolete, is to make it collapse in and of itself because we're taking care of these needs. But it's food, but it's not just food. It's also other necessities. Who is in charge of power? Who runs that? Is it really 1,000 independent companies, or is it 1 or 2 entities that run the whole show? And who are they answering to? See, these things, we are so far in that war, so far down that journey, that we need to think way bigger, creating parallel structures, parallel societies even, and not being fearful of that. If you are so disconnected from another group of people and their thought process and their inspiration, their motivation, like for example, we are about the technocracy path, well, I mean, what has happened in 1776 here in this country? I'm not saying go to war. I would never say that. I don't believe it's a necessity. I don't believe violence is a necessity to change anything. As a matter of fact, I do believe that's the lowest form of expression there could be. What I'm saying is, when people realize that they're so different from another people and so different from what another people want, well, they should create and forge their own path. And we're still so hell-bent on persuading someone else of doing it differently. We just need to do things differently ourselves. In the past 2 years, we've seen an amazing movement online. I mean, that's where a lot of good things are happening, but that's only one aspect of it. So many people that have been banned, censored off the big platforms, They didn't go back and beg for their reinstation. What did they do? They got together and created new platforms that are free speech, that are censor-free. People have been debanked and people have been deplatformed from payment processing systems because they're speaking things that these payment processors say are not suitable. They're talking about the political or the election process and they're saying wrong things, and so they get deplatformed. What do? They don't beg to be reinstated. They go and create their own payment systems. They go and create their own platforms. They even go and create their own currencies. Now, they don't call it currencies because it would be problematic to do that. But what I'm saying is, more than anything, is this thought that we need to become more local and communicate on a local level and community level. This needs to happen with bigger thoughts as well. What are our infrastructures that we need? What are our basic things that we need? And why not get together? We have so much man and woman power. We have so much even financial power. We have so much inspiration and spirit. There's no problem to do that. Absolutely not. And the best thing is we can bypass the control system. We can bypass the secret and hidden technology sector that we now have and use these things. We can actually get into the topics of free energy and begin creating that if we have a big enough group that provides also for the protection of these projects. So it is about leadership and about creation of parallel societies. Now, of course, in the mainstream, that's a negative thing. It's a negative thing when people make themselves independent. It's a negative thing when people make themselves self-sufficient. But why? Why would anyone discourage you from doing that? Really? It's a negative thing that people want to be independent and self-sufficient and personally responsible for their lives? Is that a thing that someone can actually criticize? I don't think so. I mean, they do it, but I don't think it has any legitimacy. And the truth is, if we don't do it, if we don't step into that work, we will get eaten up by this artificial machine. We will get into this technocracy path because it will be so omnipresent that there won't be anywhere else to go. Now, I believe most of the farmers that are out there don't want this path. Most of the people that are somewhat connected to nature don't want this. Most of the people that have a spiritual connection don't want this. That's a whole lot of people. Most people with common sense don't want this. That is a whole lot of people too. So I do think we have probably even the majority in absolute terms, although we don't need it. Now it's at the time of communicating this, of getting together, of creating these local groups, of talking about this, really investing your time and energy into these concepts. Start with the things that you can do right now. That's why we say, let's say you have a local group of just 50 people, and those 50 people decide to invest in their food security together. And they just don't do it by buying emergency food, that's one way, but they actually do it by putting their funds together, buying a piece of land, putting in their food forest, putting in their gardens as a beginning. They buy an acre or 2 acres. Do you know how much food that is within a very short period of time? Do you know how much potential there is? And it isn't that much of an investment. We're so often limiting ourselves before we even go through a plan, before we even really envision it. And it's the same with everything else, right? It's the same with platforms. It's even the same with energy. We think it's so complicated, but to create or to harness energy, it's not that complicated. It's not really that hard. We can do this. It's the same with communication. Yes, if we're excluded from the internet because we don't agree to the authoritarian rules, well, people have communicated before the internet for eons, right? So we can do these things. We just have to create parallel structures and be willing to be responsible and operational, which means we're not relying on a government. We're not relying on some entity, corporation to do it. We do it ourselves. And we can do it in a peaceful, harmonious way where we say, if you want to join us, if you're willing to contribute to this vision, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, this path, this technocracy path, this crazy dictatorial central government New World Order path doesn't inspire you? Come on over. There's a spot here for you. So we can do this. We have the abilities. We have the potential. But you have to get started where you are. We're doing this where we are, but you have to get started where you are. You can't rely even on us doing this for you because we can't. We can't be everywhere and we don't even want to be. We would just want to inspire and encourage. We don't want to be the ones doing it for everyone else and ruling over everyone else. We actually want to inspire leadership everywhere. We want to inspire people to get into action where they are and beginning with what they can begin, and begin today. It's really important. You'll be so thankful you did. You'll feel so great about it. You'll feel so inspired, empowered, getting together with people, sharing, talking, exchanging. It's uplifting. It's moving your spirit. It's going to create so much synergy and energy and power. And that cannot be destroyed then. And that cannot even be attacked. Trust me. They don't even try to attack these structures. So I think we need to put parallel societies and the creation of parallel structures and the creation of parallel infrastructure in a positive light and say, okay, if we don't have any freedom in this current system, if all of this is being taken away, it's our duty to do that. It's our duty to create that. And it's our duty in our human spirit to invite people in if they want that. I think that is our task. There's nothing secret about it. There's nothing covert about it. There's no takeover plans, nothing like that. It's simply becoming real beings again that are in charge of their own lives and forging their own destiny. I think that is the call of the day. Let us know in the comments whether you already have groups, whether you're already connecting with people in person, and if not, what is holding you back? We need to figure it out. We need to heal this together because there's no more time to wait. It needs to happen now everywhere, not just in America, everywhere in the world. People need to get together and begin creating. You can't tell me that amongst 40, 50, 60, 100 people, you cannot create your own food security. That's super easy, actually. It's not rocket science. I encourage you, go to foodforestabundance.com. We'll put the link in the description. Check out what they're doing if you haven't yet. See what can be done and what a great investment it will be on all levels. All right, Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being with us. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon.